Hello and welcome. Today in this video we're going to be talking about anxiety and trauma, and this is very interesting and very important because on some level anxiety is trauma and trauma is anxiety, and the more free we can get from trauma, the more free we will be from anxiety. So make sure to stick around and watch this video all the way until the end. Let's dive in. Now, before we get started, I just want to remind you about my free workshop that you can get access to in the description of this video, where I share probably the most powerful tool for reducing your anxiety. This is not a breathing exercise, it's not CBT. Those things do work, they do help, but this works on a whole other level. In fact, while this tool is one of the most powerful tools for reducing your anxiety quickly, anytime, anywhere, it's also one of the most powerful things you can do to help process and release trauma over time so that your anxiety doesn't come back. So make sure to go into the description of the video, click on the link, and get free access to my Map and Key to Anxiety Free workshop. Now, let's dive in and look at anxiety through the lens of trauma. So how is it that trauma and anxiety are related? Well, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, on some level, they are the same thing. So trauma is anxiety and anxiety is trauma. They're two sides of the same coin. As we looked at in a separate video, our experience of anxiety is thoughts and emotions. So the way that we experience anxiety is uncomfortable thoughts and emotions. Now, trauma is those same uncomfortable thoughts and emotions stored. Somehow within our system, we are able to store and keep these uncomfortable thoughts and emotions. We keep them in our system, and that is trauma. Now, it's important to realize that everybody has trauma. Nobody goes through childhood without accumulating some or a lot of trauma. Of course, there are specific events that can cause more trauma or a high amount of trauma. Car accidents, violence, abuse, these kinds of things create a specific kind of trauma that's very strong. However, even if you had the perfect parents, which I don't think exists, there would have been times in your childhood when you had needs that you weren't able to meet yourself, that would have been your parents' job to meet, but they either weren't there or didn't know what to do or did the wrong thing, and you would have had uncomfortable thoughts and emotions that you weren't able to process yourself, and you would have stored them. This is trauma. Every child creates trauma. The question is not if you have trauma, but how much trauma do you have, and how much is that trauma affecting your life? Now, why is understanding trauma important? Because it explains why different people react differently to the same stimulus. So for example, public speaking, or just going out in public, or the way that somebody looks at you, or somebody not responding to a message. These things can all be triggers for our anxiety, right? But different people have different reactions, so we don't all have the same reaction to those stimulus, and the difference is our trauma. How we have stored thoughts and emotions and patterns of thoughts and emotions in our system will determine how we react to different situations. Now, this gives us two areas we can focus on when we want to reduce anxiety. The first one is on the anxiety itself. So this, for example, a breathing exercise may help, or specifically the free tool that I give in the free workshop in the description of this video, that helps a lot for reducing the anxiety in the moment. The other place where we can focus on is the trauma. Now, the trauma takes time to get free from. However, when we get free from the trauma, then the anxiety really doesn't come back. We can have those same triggers that were causing us anxiety before, and they just won't cause us anxiety because we don't have the trauma or the stored thoughts and emotions connected to that external stimulus. So really, the way to ultimately be free from anxiety is to be free from trauma. Now, the question is, how do we get free from trauma? Well, the concept is easy to understand. However, the practice is another thing. It's not so easy. The only way to really be free from it is we need to experience them, which obviously is not what we want. We don't really want to feel these feelings. However, as far as I know, until now, there is no technology that helps us get free from trauma without actually experiencing it. So that means we need to feel the feelings, and we need to hear and understand and see the thoughts. This stuff needs to pass through the system in order to be processed and released, and this is the way that trauma can be released from the system. Now, there are all kinds of tools already out there that you can already use to do this. Some classic ones are body work, so massage, deep tissue massage, yoga, therapy, anything that goes in and kind of activates this stuff in the body or in the mind and brings it to the surface so that you can feel it and so you can process it. This is how you can release trauma. Now, this process takes time and it will be different from everybody. Everybody has a different amount of trauma. We all have different kinds of trauma and it's stored in different ways. So this process will be different for everybody and will also take more time for some people and less time for others. Now, if you want to take the perfect first step to getting free from anxiety, from reducing your anxiety in the moment, and also a powerful tool that will help you to release and process trauma over time as well as reducing anxiety, then make sure to go and get access right now to my Map and Key to Anxiety Free workshop, which is in the description of this video. And lastly, if you want to get free from anxiety, if you want to learn how to process your trauma and release it so that your anxiety doesn't come back, then make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the notifications bell, because you're going to want to see the content that I'm going to be posting here. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure to give it a like, pass it on to your friends, and let's get free together.